This is the Sam Uxer Jr. Show coming to you live from Frederick, Maryland, or as the natives call it, Redneck, Maryland, whatever. Anyway, we have a great guest tonight from Ford Motor Company, and we're going to have a little discussion about these Fords. And we got such an expert here. So here he is, Mr. John Clor. Welcome.
Thank you. You know, I will take time out of my life just to be on the Sam Uxer Jr. radio show.
Hey,
Sam, you're a legend.
Yeah, I'm a legend. An old one.
No, no, doesn't. No. You can be a legend when you're 12.
Did I tell you about changing?
As long as you're in elementary school, that is a.
Did I tell you about changing the camshaft and the cylinder heads in the parking lot between rounds of about. No, forget that story. I didn't.
No, those are the.
I know that was the story.
That's the glory years of Ford performance.
Yeah, right.
You know, I mean, nowadays you change Subaru cylinder heads in an AutoZone parking lot on YouTube. That's it's just not the same.
That's the truth.
Yeah, it is. I've seen that actually, and I wonder what's wrong with the AutoZone people. In my neighborhood, they wouldn't let you do that.
Yeah, well,
but maybe I'm lucky. I don't know.
All right.
No, those are the days, Sam, back when drivers could wrench and wrenchers could drive, and Ford raced against all the greatest people and names and threw everything they had at it, and they didn't worry about demographics and market studies and research and
all that good stuff.
Good stuff. They just worried about winning.
Now they're worried about how many winds are on the electric motor. I mean, the brushes and all that stuff.
Yeah, to those fans out there that, there's a reason why we're getting into the EV world with both feet. And I remember when the company announced we're going into EV with both feet, and Bill Ford said, I just hope the customers come with us.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true.
That's right. But it's here to stay unless, when Toyota comes up with the car that runs on water.
Runs on water. Yeah, that'll be.
Yeah. And the good news is I live next to one of the Great Lakes, so I'm good.
Then they'll charge you $100 for a 5-gallon of water or something. Yeah.
The argument's going around all the time. But it's really a matter for me, Sam, a choice. If you want to have an electric car, my aunt had a golf cart ever since she was 40. She never went back to driving her car, so that's fine. That whatever suits you. That
worked out good. That's
and I've driven the Mach-E. It's fast. It's a nice little SUV. It's debatable whether you want to say it's a Mustang, but
I think it's more like a turtle, isn't it? I mean,
well, it's got that. It's got Now, Sam, are you going to start with this? Okay, the guy who drew the original Mustang, Gail Halderman, before he passed away, it's been 5 years since we lost him, Sam, and he was just a gem. He was a blast to talk to, taking him to car shows. He was a riot, and you'd never known he'd drawn it was his concept, that whole shape of the Mustang.
Oh,
and he told me that he wouldn't want to be a designer at Ford today.
Yeah.
I go, what? Why? He goes, because here's what they got. You got a jelly bean, and all you can design are the headlights and the taillights. Back when you were racing, Sam, the bodies were all different, and fins and scoops.
Right. They had all that stuff. It was a little bit, they made the things more individually, like each year. Then they came. I got a whole set of pictures. You'd love this. In 1969, they had me come up to Baltimore, the Ford dealer. They actually had a new car showing when the new cars come out. It's hard to believe, but anyway, back then they did. And they had me and one oval track guy bring his car up there. So we get up there and it's, that doesn't happen anymore. We don't have any new car showings. I don't know if they're ashamed of them or whatever.
No, they come out, every 3 weeks, and they show them on the internet. And then I don't know, there's sometimes they call it it's called a drop now.
A drop.
Yeah. Hey, did you see the drop on the Mustang? Did you check your Instagram account?
Right.
I thought they meant when I say instant something, I'm thinking of that oatmeal packet. You pour
Yeah,
the
right.
hot milk.
Yeah, with the
No,
with
instant.
coffee.
No, so yeah,
And
it's not like Sam. Those days are gone. I mean, that people would get excited. Remember, they said, "Oh, when the Mustang came out, we put paper on the windows of the dealership so you couldn't see it." And
yeah, that's right. They were covered up when they came in.
yeah,
It's a big deal.
and now you have an embargo, and at 6 a.m. Pacific time, they hit the internet, and then you know Stang Dude 6 is the first guy to review it. I
Right.
know. Yeah, he's
Well, how did
obviously
things go at Carlisle?
well.
I seen your podcast there as you were doing that.
That was crazy. Well, I mean, who would want to do a live? You should do. I got inspired by you. I mean,
No,
when I've been to every single Carlisle Ford National since the day it started, and I was the only Ford person there with SVT. I
I
brought a
bet.
Lightning and a Cobra. We had a little 10x10. Did that for years, and then in that one of those buildings I walked by, and there's Sam Oxer Jr. He had this big, cool little mini studio set up, and beautiful girls like Vanna White's and walking people up to the microphones. I don't know how you did it.
Right.
And I remember when I first got my chance to get interviewing with you, and I said, that's just cool that you're here at the Ford Nationals, interviewing people and getting the vibe. And so when I finally got the chance to talk to my podcast guy to get him out of his house for 15 minutes, because he stays up late at night, he never goes out, and and when he sees the sunlight, he goes ah. So when I told him we want to do like a town hall. After the last couple of elections, town halls were kind of cool. You hear people
Right.
yelling at each other. Said, let's do a town hall version of the podcast. Now, unlike you, when the Sam Oxer show was at Carlisle, very, very dignified, talking to people. That wasn't letting people come up to the mic and start yelling stuff.
Yeah, that's true. You did have. You can look. Where is that located right now so they can see you on live?
Well, so the Mustang Owners Podcast, we've done over 200 episodes now.
Yeah.
The guy who founded the Mustang Owners Museum down there in Charlotte, Steve Hall, passed away, but he started this thing. And after he started, he said, I'm going to do a weekly podcast on the Mustang. And a couple of weeks after he started, he goes, hey, John, it's kind of hard to do a weekly podcast. Like, I got stuff to do. Hey, you want to help me? I go, well, what would you want me to do? He goes, why don't you host one and then I'll host one. Then that way I have a week off. So we started that. And then I got my buddy, Mike Ray, the president of the Mustang Owners Club of Southeastern Michigan.
Right.
If Mike Ray doesn't know you, then something's wrong with your PR guy. That's right. So we started helping out, right? We were just talking about club stuff. And that was 200 and some episodes ago, 2 years ago. And Sam, by the grace of God, we were rated the #1 Mustang podcast on the web. We don't have a whole lot of subscribers or followers. It's just the ratings we get from people. And it's not us, Sam, as you know, from being on your show for so long. When you get a guest that's got a great story, they talk about their car, or you get a celebrity or something, they drive the bus. So we're just here for the beer. And
you're just there to...
So we can go on Mustang Owners Podcast now on YouTube. Just type in Owners Podcast, subscribe, and you'll see stuff. I mean, we've got, Henry Ford III and John Coletti and, Aaron Shelby and we had Christy Lee was on. She was talking about, and we asked stuff that nobody asked. We said, hey, Christy Lee, let's see, you were on All Girls Garage. What's your favorite Mustang? Because you're a Chevy girl.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And she said, I'm not. I love all cars.
Oh yeah, sure.
But I wanted to find out, we're the Mustang Owners Podcast. So, and on Apple and Spotify, that's our big platform, Spotify. But you go back and
there's no picture on Spotify, right?
Yeah, you go on that Mustang Owners Podcast, and you'll see photos of all the people, all the little bios, and we had a lot of fun
on camera, right?
Yeah. Well, we didn't start. No, we didn't move it to YouTube. We did a couple hundred episodes just on the audio. Yeah. And then I heard, Sam, this is bizarre. Somebody told me, most people now, the majority, I mean, like pushing 70% of people, they digest their podcast via YouTube. So they'd rather watch two heads talking.
That's right.
Than they would just listening to it in their earphones. So
you're making it look bad. You know that?
No. This personally, I'd rather listen to it because I see you and I talk. It's like I like talking to you face to face because it's like when we were at Carlisle. But I didn't get a chance to. I wish you would have come up to the microphone on the town hall at the Mustang Owners
Well,
podcast.
I thought about that. Then that lady got up there with the want to know about the
the 351.
351. Why there wasn't more. So,
why didn't she get up there, Sam, and rescue me?
Oh my
talk
God!
to her about the 351.
I didn't want to tell her. What the story was.
She said she couldn't find a shirt, a 351 shirt, and
that's
I
right.
said, well, I said, listen, it's like this. Is a business case. How many people have them, and that's how many they'll sell.
Right.
I said they don't make 351s anymore.
No.
Yeah, so no, it was great. We had a good time doing the podcast there. Of course, it rained like
it rained a little bit.
Oh, it was horrible. That nothing's worse than rain, and especially when you've got and I'm not sorry for the Mustang guys. My Mustang's got a shaker, so the water goes right into the engine where it belongs.
Right, burns water. There you go.
Yeah.
You're ahead of the Toyota thing. Yeah.
So I ended up, Carlisle's what now? Out of the 3,600 cars, it's like 2,300 Mustangs.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Yes, they're all the new ones are down.
I know, and they're all down on the main. That's great. Mustang is the only car we have in market. I get it. It's where all the kids drive. I understand, but I go to the Nationals.
I've begged them before to take and put some of the old muscle cars down on the field.
Yeah.
Well,
they got the Fairlanes down there. When you came in, you got to see the Fairlane Club of America.
Right. Yeah.
They had some great old Fairlanes and Torinos, and but
I didn't mean to interrupt.
As I talked to, they never heard of Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's where you are. Right.
Yeah. So no, I just felt bad for all the guys that brought their 56 Crown Victoria, or they put everybody up on the hill. Yeah. The Thunderbird guys, they had their 70th anniversary, Sam?
Yeah.
70 years of the T-Birds. Man.
Wow. Yeah.
And there were some beautiful cars there. Oh, man.
Yep.
I love that show. Yeah. I love everything about all the crazy one-off. I saw a Cortina there. When's the last time you saw a Ford Cortina?
I don't remember seeing one.
Well, you got to be a pretty odd person to drive around with one of the. But there were, Escort Z. I gave my celebrity pick to an Escort ZX2, a little red ZX2 with the little wing on it. Where you don't see those cars anymore? It was fun, but the rain kind of wrecked it for me.
Yeah,
it cost me 2 hours sitting in a tent with that Venom Invasion, that crazy club with the big prison in there, and they party at Carlisle so hard, Sam. And I got out of there, my ears were ringing. It was crazy. I loved it. Love seeing you there. I loved the podcast there. I think based on the reaction, we might do another town hall somewhere. So what are you doing in your backyard this weekend?
I did a fireworks, the other day. That was enough, So my backyard isn't that big, My backyard is like small.
Well, that's okay. All we need is these two microphones, that's a little laptop. But no, I'd like to. I think the next year I'd like to keep doing that if I can. You how many years did you do a radio show from Carlisle?
Oh my God.
At least 10.
2000, at least 10. 2009, I think I started, and then to 2018, I think 19, something like that. 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember when
they gave me the boot. Yeah. Oh, get out of here.
Back in the day, remember we had when Carlisle had that little building off to the entrance area, what used to be a dealership, and you had the Cobra Jets in there. Remember you had the Cobra Jets?
Right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I think Sam, what's happening now is the Mustang, the history part of Mustang, those cars are being celebrated in the tents and smaller numbers, and it's everybody's Fox body and their S550 Coyote.
Deal with Fox body, and they ought to be selling bukus of those Coyote engines, but you don't even see an advertising anything.
Well, brings up a good point, because everybody just bombarded my email inbox with, hey, one of your Ford executives said, Ford, they want to get out of the engine making business because people don't care what engine's in it. Yeah. Now, And when he said that, Sam, all your friends and all my friends lost it. But some people, like I asked my sister-in-law, and she said, I said, do you care what engine's in your Ford? She goes, well, I have an Escape. I don't even know what engine's in there.
Right. Oh, God.
I said, well, what if I told you it was an EcoBoost?
Yeah, ego boost.
You know,
Yeah.
and look how we marketed the hell out of EcoBoost, and we really did.
Oh,
And
yeah.
but
Mm.
it didn't mean anything to her. So I understand what John Lawler had said, that to some people they could care less. How many 2.5 liter or 2 liter
Well,
turbo fours does the
right.
industry need?
Well, but there's plenty of people that want the performance like the Coyote. And here's an engine that honestly is a better bottom end engine. And of course, the double cams, but better bottom end engine than an old FE camera motor. I mean, this has all the strength in the world in it. And hey, those guys run them and just, put them to torture.
Oh
And
yeah.
they stay together. But
Well, so that's the issue. Now, to a guy with a Coyote, I mean, I go walking up and down that show. You were down those aisles. You saw people with Coyote names on their car, and they'd had a Coyote stuffed animal sitting on the
right.
hood. They want that name. Do you think those guys would want a manufactured engine from Mitsubishi that they sold to 5 car companies?
Taiwan or somewhere. So.
Well, I mean, okay, so I did a little research into this for those of you out there who think that that's just preposterous. What's happened is they spent so much money on EVs, they got to save some money somewhere, and they're thinking, if nobody really cares what engine's in their car, why don't we just get a third-party guy? Didn't the Dodge brothers make engines and sell them to Henry Ford?
I
and he couldn't get them fast enough, so he bought them out and said, go away. I'll make my own.
Right.
So that's what they essentially, they said, we'll just get a, because Volkswagen makes engines for like 5 people, Porsche and Skoda, and there are manufacturers that make engines and they sell them to different. Remember when GM quit putting in the Olds engine and the Olds and the Chevy engine and the Chevy? Remember that?
Hated that, man. People did
not
like that.
A Rocket 88 and
with a Chevy engine in it? No.
So that was but I'm thinking he's not seeing what we see, which is the enthusiasts. The people that actually drive your brand loyalty, they want a Ford engine in a Ford. They want, and one guy, Sam, I don't know if you know Robert Kennedy, he wrote that new Mustang history book called Unbridled. Yeah. And the reason I like him, he's a Mustang 2 fan, and I like second gens. And he said, wait a minute, John, how can we not make motors? This is the Ford Motor Company. It's not the Ford Sheet Metal Company.
Yeah, right.
We're supposed to make and isn't it General Motors?
Yeah. And we're just we're not connecting with the buyer,
Yeah, I think that's it. Outsourcing engines. We did outsource that 10-speed transmission with General Motors, and then I don't know, Sam, I don't know if you've been talking to your GM friends, but they were saying once we launched that transmission, they was telling me that GM went in to try to get cost saves out of that transmission, so much to the point there's a YouTube video where one of the engineers said they want to cheapen the metallurgy to get the expensive metal out of there, make it as cheap as possible.
Right.
I don't want to be partnering up with that guy.
Yeah, exactly. This guy, I mean, GM sends over these transmissions that I think they were like, sabotage or something like that,
It's a tough business decision. I can see we're partnering up. Now, the one guy that did have a point, Sam, maybe 2 guys.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't me or you. He said, listen, if you bought an electric car, so you bought I don't know, Evoque or a Tesla or a Mach-E, do you care who made the electric motor in there? So what if you opened up the hood and you tried to look the stamping on your electric motor and it said Whirlpool?
Yeah, that's right. It probably would be.
No, but would it bother you?
Yeah. I thought about that before. I was like, what are these things made out of? I mean, do we have
who's making them?
Who's
doing the windings? Are we making them? Are there a supplier? I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. But
here's, Sam, you had dealt with racing, and there you had all those aftermarket guys, everybody's carburetor and camshaft and intake manifold. And here, the factory wanted to use Ford racing parts.
Yeah.
And you may have come up against Edelbrock or what is this? Derek Bieri, the guy at Vice Grip Garage. He calls it Edelbrock.
Edelbrock. Yeah.
Edelbrock.
Yeah.
You know, you might have to deal with the aftermarket facing, hey, we engineered something better than Ford, but as a factory racer, you didn't have a choice.
Yeah, exactly. You know, here's what you used, and that's it. You know.
So wasn't your point that you were going to go out on that track and you were going to win in a Ford engine because people say, well, geez, I should buy a Ford because look at Sam Oxford Jr. just beat the living snot out of that car, didn't blow it up, so it must be good.
Right. Yeah.
But so I guess that marketing doesn't apply anymore.
They don't. They're in another world here. So,
well, the question becomes then, why do we race? If we all have the same engines made from Joe Schmuck Motor Company and he sells them to Toyota and General, we all have the same motor. What are we proving when we go around the track 500 miles?
Yeah, exactly. You know, they don't. I don't know what they don't get, but they have no enthusiasm for the performance of everything. You know.
And maybe we're the crazy ones. Why do we care about that like that?
I've been
Some kids just want a car to take them from point A to point B, and there's plenty of appliances out there. That's fine,
but don't kill me over.
That's right. Let me buy what I want. So if I want a Mustang and I want a Coyote, damn it, I should be able to buy it. Right?
That's right. I don't know where Ford come up with that crap. You know.
Well, can you imagine if there was no Cobra Jet? There's no flathead. There's no.
Yeah, right.
Hypo.
I think Jimmy's sending us down the wrong road here.
I don't know. So the marketing, it isn't the same, Sam. And I fear I think Ford's got other issues with young people than the marketing of the names of the motors. I think their biggest concern should be that they don't have an entry-level product for young people. For the first time in my career, I've been at Ford. I started in 1995. So this is 30 years.
Yeah, right. 30
For the first time in 30 years, I can't recommend a car to a young gal getting out of high school. I want to buy a little car, and what does Ford have? They don't have a Fiesta. They don't have a Focus. You have to buy a Bronco Sport, I guess. Yeah. And if she didn't like the SUVs. So there's no car, and everything's $20,000-$30,000. No, not 20. When the Maverick came out, it was like right around 20. Now it's 30.
Yeah,
you can't buy anything for $30,000.
No, it's horrible. I looked at the crew cab Ford, fairly well loaded, but you're looking at $75,000.
My house was $75,000 when I bought my first.
I spent 18 on my first house.
Well, look at it this way: we could wind up living in our car.
Right.
I guess it's a good deal.
Buy a trailer and tow it behind you and live in that.
Yeah, I think pricing right now is the biggest.
It's
hurdle.
Yeah, I mean,
nobody can afford new cars.
No.
So Sam, what's happened is we've gone back 130 years. And, when cars first came out, only the rich people could afford them.
Yeah.
And it was only rich people, only millionaires and billionaires. You see them. And then what happened? Hey, some guy named Henry Ford decided, what if I made the car out of the best materials, the most reliable, but made it as inexpensive as possible so everybody could buy one? Hey, I think I'll do that.
Yeah.
What happened to that idea?
That idea got burned.
Well, it's like your local appliance dealer. How do you do it? Volume.
That's what I said. I lose money on every one. I make it up in volume.
I can't imagine Henry Ford, but he's doing backflips in his grave thinking, trying to make a full line manufacturer that gives an affordable car that everybody can afford and appreciate for its quality. And that was the founding of our company. And we've gotten to the point where there's a profit margin. I don't know if we're making vehicles for stockholders and shareholders or making vehicles for customers.
Yeah, because there's nothing out there. It's amazing. And Chevy, I see there are tons of the Chevy. What the hell is it? The full size one. I think Enterprise has 1 million of them.
The cars.
Yeah, cars.
Well, they had the Malibu for the longest time. Then they had their last Impala was a decent car, and it was actually pretty good looking. now that's the Chevy Trax and the Chevy Equinox, and
Yeah.
and now Buick's making these little tiny SUVs that are made somewhere overseas, and they have like a 3-cylinder. They have a 3-cylinder in them.
I don't
Wow.
know how that even works, but
Well,
out of
I don't know.
balance or something.
So we have challenges, Sam. I mean, we do have challenges, and maybe we're just so far down the road we don't see that
I
that's
don't know, buddy, but I
the
don't see
future doesn't look bright when you have to work
I
at
don't see any
Starbucks and make $40 or $50 an hour to afford a car.
it's terrible. I don't know how people do it, on a new car. It's crazy.
Well, let's not be so doom and gloom. This is the Sam Oxford Jr. radio show. And we don't
Yeah,
want to say, "Oh, you can't afford cars anymore. They're going to put Joe Schmuck engines in them," and then we're going to tell you, "Hey, nobody works on cars anymore. Kids want the corner desk job, and they want to work from home. You can't work from home down at the dealership with looking under a lift with oil flipping in your face.
yeah,
Who's gonna?" Sam, I can't find anybody to fix the carburetor on my '77 Mustang.
yeah.
I took my carburetor
There's
apart,
nobody
Sam.
there's no. Yeah, go ahead.
You've taken Hollies apart.
Yeah,
I took that thing apart, and all these little balls and springs fell out of it.
yeah, right. Hey,
I can't find them. They went under the work.
hey, you don't need them then. If they fell out.
Those were extra. So who's going to fix these, Sam?
Yeah, well, they need to find somebody to fix them. I can tell you that, because there's nobody taking up the trade anymore.
No.
I mean, the first thing I hear from private shops and dealers that there's nobody there to work on.
Well, with the tariffs now, all these manufacturing jobs are going to come back to the United States, except the colleges didn't teach the kids about manufacturing.
Exactly.
They don't make anything. So they got the wrong degrees. They can't even put a piece of toast in the toaster. I mean,
right, exactly.
Run a lathe machine or no, some of them can do 3D printing. That's about it.
Yeah.
So Sam, my recommendation to you with the Sam Oxford Jr. show is that you're going to have to go become a content creator. I want to see you on TikTok next month.
That's scary. But do you know the guy outside the box? He said, I do carbs. That's what he said. I love my 2011 F-250. Bought it brand new. Still have it. There you go. See.
Well, I have an 11 F-150 Coyote, and Sam, I got an 01 Triton 4.6 F-150 Super Crew with 349,000 miles on it. Now, did I have to replace the rockers about 10 years ago? Yes. I got it repainted. She looks beautiful, just barely burning oil. I probably get 500,000 miles on it. What happened to those cars? No wonder Ford hates that. I haven't bought a new truck every 10 years. That's why they hate this, Sam.
That's why they hate it. I'll tell you right now that's why they make them transmissions that don't last 100,000 miles.
Because otherwise you'll keep it like me that lasts forever. And they say that guy's never going to buy another car. What's right?
That's right.
We should make him that good.
Well, John, where's your next step?
Well, I've got a couple of things going on right now. So in Detroit, we have Fox Fest.
And that's a Fox body.
Yeah, they get 500, 600, 700 Fox bodies going to world headquarters.
Is that right?
Yeah, and they expanded the Fox body to the SN95 because they said technically that's a Fox chassis that was heavily modified, Fox 4. So they get a lot of cars up there, and it's the hottest thing going in the Mustang world, Sam. Fox bodies are getting crazy money right now at auction.
Yeah,
you can't find an LX 5-liter notchback that hasn't been molested.
Oh God!
They're going big money, and all the kids that wanted to be ice baby rolling in their 5.0, they're now 50 years old. They're buying them up, and they're hot. So I get it, but I'm going to go up to a Cars and Coffee for the Northville Concours d'Elegance. We got a Mustang display up there, and then the next day, I'm trying to catch up with my former engineer of SVT, John Coletti, who lives up on Harson's Island in Lake St. Clair, and I want to go to that Island Car Show. They say he's usually there, although I texted him, and I think he may not be there the year I go. And then I've got shows. I want to get down to Old Fort Mustangers in Fort Wayne. They got a show coming up next weekend. And then there's the North Coast Mustang Club of Ohio. They got new leadership. I'd like to go support them. I mean, every weekend there's a car show somewhere in the United States, and my job is to try to support these clubs and come out and talk Mustangs.
Yeah.
Well, tough job, but somebody's got to do it. And you're hanging out in your backyard too much.
I know you're like, you could hire me to. Oh no, not hire. I could come along.
Sam, I got no budget.
You don't have no budget. God, I've heard that one before. I've heard that one.
I bet you have. I bet you have on those factory teams. Yeah.
Those factory. Oh yeah, we ain't got no budget for that.
So Sam, during those days, you got money for your
Chevy's got budget.
Yeah, but somebody had budget, and so they when you broke something, and the rumor was you broke a lot of stuff. Did you?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Oh.
I did not break the
blow motors up.
No, I didn't blow that many engines. I mean, I've done my own engines. I didn't hire anybody to do them. I had a few when I started out that came from other sources. And
well, there you go. See, you want to build your own motors. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I remember back, we got out of racing. How many? They said, "Oh, Ford Racing has been around for." No, Ford Racing. We come in and out of racing. How the politics are. Remember back in the 70s when more factories.
Let me tell you, I remember. What is it? That was that guy. What the hell is his name? Anyway, the guy tells me before at the end of the 69 year. I told this last week on my show. He comes up and said, and we had an offer from Chrysler. Chrysler wanted me to go over there. So I said, well, what's the deal? He said, you're going to get more stuff. I said, oh, more stuff. Oh, we're going to give you more cars. I'm like, okay. And then we're going to give you a complete semi. Everything will be there. The whole nine.
Wow.
At that time, I had a truck deal, but it was with the dealership. So anyway, he said, oh, I'm going to give you all that, So I go to Pomona and barely qualified. We made up some Maverick because we were going to stick with Ford, and we get out there, and I think the Saturday afternoon or Saturday or Sunday morning, the Ford guy comes over and they changed them like they change clothes every day. So we got a guy and he comes over and he says, I got bad news. He says, when you leave here, you need to go over to Bill Stropp's, pick up everything you can pick up. Well, and why is it? And because we're not racing anymore. I said, what? Here I've got.
It was like that. I would just boom.
I got a Maverick and like a post stock car here. Okay, what do we do with this? And so
those decisions, yeah. I mean, I hear you.
We'll give you some parts. Just call us and we'll get them out the back door. We just can't take them that way,
Well, that wasn't that long ago. I remember when the second gens came out, Willie T. Ribbs and those guys. We were doing. Yeah. Ford racing guys were handing stuff out the back door. Sorry, you execs that didn't believe that happened.
Right.
They call but your heart bleeds Ford blue. You want to help them out. And
right.
Hey, does somebody over the engineering team have an old block somewhere? I remember, Sam, when I was at SVT, we did the 2000 Cobra R. And some of these crazy buyers would go out and race these things. I don't know if it was SCCA or whatever, but those were super rare cars. That was a one-off engine. Guys are blowing them up and over-revving them. And we got calls to the info center saying, hey, man, I need push rods. And they were gone. They were back ordered, but they're racing.
Right. Yeah.
So
exactly.
They said, come on, John. So we had Jesse Kershaw, and he was the head of the racing end of it. They called Jesse. You remember Jesse?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he worked for NHRA for a while after he left Ford Racing. And they said, hey, Jesse, you got to do something. I got to get my car back together. And I only have a week. And he said, you don't understand. There's nothing in they're back ordered. We don't have any. And then he called. He said, wait a minute. They're still building these things. So he calls a guy he knew, and I won't name his name, but he was over at the Romeo engine plant building the engines. He said, hey, man, do you have any push rods for that 2000 Cobra R motor? He goes, yeah, we got a box somewhere. He goes, okay, I got to get some for some racer. He goes, well, you can't walk out with those. And he goes, well, can you get me through the back door? So he calls me up and he says, you're coming out to Romeo with me. And I had these cargo pants.
Yeah.
And I go to the niche line and they're putting these push rods on my pockets. Like, what are you doing? They go, just walk real slow. Don't make that clinking noise. And go right for the back door. I mean, so back in 2000, we were still trying to help racers get parts so they can compete so that Ford could win and we would look better against Mopar and Chevy and Toyota or whoever else was out there. And that's what Ford guys did. And, sorry.
Well, I tell you what,
fired Jesse now, he's gone.
I tell you what would happen too. Holman and Moody, as much as I love them to death, basically they would hoard any good part that was there. That was really, really, and if I called up Gerd was the guy's name, German guy, Gerd. And I hated this guy, because he'd answer the phone in a parts instead of somebody else.
Yeah.
I say, and I give him my a serial number, and I said, Holbrook told me to call you and tell you to give me this part, get it in the transit, get it here as fast as you can. And we used the last one of those. He'd pull that crap. I'd get so mad at him. I said, no. I said, you got more than one of them. I know, and we just would go around.
Well, Sam, it might be turned around now because now Ford is really fully funding this F1 program. They want to go back into F1 big time. And that's, as well as I do, that ain't like NHRA drag racing. The F1 is a big, high money, high stakes, high visibility.
Big money. Yeah.
Whoa. So they got
millions.
They got money somewhere.
Yeah. They got it. They just they'll do with it what they want to do with it. That's all.
Yeah. Unfortunately, when we lost John Force, I felt really bad for what a character he is.
Yeah.
And then, we left the brand building and they said, well, our target market's not at NHRA. And, and I remember them telling me that the club world, the young people don't go to car shows. And I go, well, it proves that you're not at car shows because there's a ton of young people there. Now they might bring their girlfriend or their kids rolling around in a wagon behind them. Right. They might not be entering in the club or maybe displaying a car, but they go to car shows. They love to see these old Mustangs. Yeah, exactly. They love to see the heritage. They're there. And Sam, I don't know if you've been to an Autorama or something like that recently. That's all kids now. I used to think it was all the guys with the Lucky Strikes rolled up in their sleeves, those old guys. And that's why I don't go to my class reunion. It's just a bunch of old people.
Yeah, I know. They're still there,
But no, it's great how to see. I mean, old cool Mustangs are cool. Old race cars are cool. All the stuff we built from the 50s through the 60s and the 70s. They talk about the Malaise era, the 80s cars. I still think they're cool. I like Fairmonts. I had a Granada. And
there you go.
The old lady lived next door, couldn't tell the difference between that and a Mercedes Benz. How about that?
Yeah, they look close,
Yeah, the marketing is just phenomenal.
I had one.
Did you have a Granada?
Mercury Sable. I had.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sable. You couldn't tell the difference.
Well, don't get me started on Mercury. Mercury could have been managed differently, I think, other than badge engineered. It was a great brand when it started. They had some great cars. My brother was in, bless his heart. When he passed, he was like a big shooter in the IMOA, a West Coast International Mercury Owners Association. No, not West Coast. The West is in Arizona, which is going to be the West Coast after California breaks off, falls into the ocean. So that'll be the West Coast. But he had a 57. He loved Turnpike Cruisers, and he loved 312s. 312s were the world dam. And then to see what happened to Mercury over the years, and and then I thought the Marauder might have saved it. We were going to do we had a proposal to do a Cougar again off an S197, and that got shot down by upper management. And I just don't believe Mercury was managed. I remember when they killed the brand, Sam. So the announcement is Mercury will no longer be produced And that very weekend, I was supposed to go speak at the International Mercury Owners Association convention. I think it was in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
I was so I go, oh no.
Yeah.
So Jerry Robin, I think, was he tells me, you're still coming, aren't you?
No, you're right.
You're the banquet speaker. I go, they just killed Mercury. He goes, yeah, what are you going to talk about? I go, I don't
Yeah.
know. Like,
Talking
so
about
I did go, and my brother, who's like a Mercury nut, he bailed me out with
yeah,
a funny presentation.
right.
But I got up. The first thing I did, Sam, is I go, now from Ford Motor Company, John Clor, and here you hear this. And they're all giving me the dagger eyes.
Right.
And I'm looking around like
Your fault.
the whole Holiday Inn, and all I said was, ladies and gentlemen, I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. That's all you can say.
Well, so we gave a presentation about Mercury's glory days, and then going through the performance era, Cyclones and Cyclone GTs and the racing, all the great Mercury history, and then the badge engineering stuff. And then at the very end, so my brother said, look, my dad was a cop and he drove Chevys and Mopars. So the last thing in the world he wanted was to drive a Chevy. So we had Fords. So when he became a sergeant, we got a Mercury. And when he retired, became a sheriff, we got a Lincoln. He says, so now what Ford has done, they've taken out the middleman. So you can go right from Ford straight to Lincoln.
Straight to Lincoln, straight to the high price one. I know.
Yeah. So
yeah.
They
my
didn't think
dad
it was
had
funny.
a Turnpike Cruiser.
Oh, remember those?
Oh yeah, but oh my gosh, that thing.
With the breezeway windows and
yeah, exactly.
Ford has made some incredible cars. And back then, I agree with Gail Halderman. Even through the race cars that you had up through the early 70s, those cars were art. Torinos were beautiful cars, and I mean and all the stuff that Joe Oros and those guys did through the 50s and the Finn cars, the 57 Ford.
Yeah.
What a beautiful car. Say, it's a shoebox Chevy, my favorite car. It doesn't look like anything compared to a 57. 57 Ford was like a big T-Bird. Thunderbird, for example. Name one Thunderbird that wasn't pretty. And don't give me the Fox body 80s cars. We were. And, we've been through some great stuff as the company. And my only hope, Sam, is that they will see the legacy they built, and we helped build that.
Yeah,
and maybe they'll go back to making beautiful pieces of sculpture.
I don't see how they can, have any idea of shutting the car assembly. I mean, that's like you said, cars, that's what they are, cars, and somebody's got to start somewhere buying a car, and everybody can't buy a $75,000 pickup or $100,000 pickup.
Well, to that end, Sam, that's probably the best point you could possibly make for your listeners today. And I before Hal Sperlich passed about a year ago, I was talking to him, and he said, you know what? The issue is when we canceled cars, and it really upset him. And he said, you know what Ford needs to do? Use the Mustang formula, which is make a car that looks so pretty. They go, oh, wow, what's that?
Right.
In 1964, he said, when those went by, they go, oh, I want one of those. Look at that. There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And then he said, you make it with the underpinnings so you can afford it.
Yeah.
And then he said the whole advertising for a Mustang was a blonde girl in a gown, a white Mustang, and the price $23.68 FOB Detroit, because it was like, oh, look at that cool car, and if I had that car, I could get that girl, and oh my God, I can afford it. He said they could do that today. He said if they took a platform the size of, say, the Focus, and made the body kind of like as sexy as they could, like a Ford GT,
right,
which they can stamp out of steel. Yeah. And make something that when you look at it, Sam, you go, oh, like when you see the new GT, oh my God, is that thing? What is that? I want one of those. And he said, and put an EcoBoost 2.3 in it, 300 horsepower. As a racer, it's just power to weight. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So a little car that size with 300 horsepower in it, and it looks like a Ford GT, sell it for 25 grand. Goodbye. You'd sell 500,000.
That's right.
Kids wouldn't be buying BRZs and all these other lettered things. But he said, Ford can do that, and they don't want to.
Up on the hill there, when they put the cars up on the hill there, the older muscle cars, but they need to. Who do they think that person that has that car, that $100,000 car that they've put all this money into?
Yeah.
What do you think he's going to buy? I mean, he's looking to buy. He may buy a new Mustang. Okay, but you put him up on the hill. He don't care. You don't care about him. So
Not interacting.
right.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. You got to.
I've been blessed with Club Connect to be able to talk to a lot of them, meeting you, Sam, and the history that you brought to the company. And it's hard to see. Maybe it's us. We're not seeing the future the way we should be, but I'm more inclined to think that, it's a process where we've learned what worked and what didn't.
Yeah.
Human nature is what it is, Sam. And the same thing that made you excited to drive a Mustang back there, and the same thing that made you happy to race for Ford, that's human nature. Those things, and that doesn't go away. We don't change that.
Exactly.
So we gotta push those buttons at people and make the products that make them excited, and hopefully that'll keep us going for another 130 years.
Well, yeah, you hope so, but I don't know. They need to wake up here. It's anybody it gets rid of their stable.
Go ahead and apply if you want to be CEO. Talk to Bill Ford Jr.
Get Bill on the phone here.
We're just trying to hang on to our spot at Carlisle.
Yeah, right, exactly. I had Bill Ford III signed the dashboard on my '69 Mustang.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, he was out there.
So here's my idea. Speaking of that, since you were a pioneer over at Carl doing this stuff, so why don't we do this next year? Instead of doing a town hall, why don't we get you and 15 of these other crazy people we've had up on stage, the whole history of the whole gamut of Mustang from yesterday till tomorrow, get like 6 of us and just put 6 microphones up there and do an Ask Us Anything.
Yeah.
Would you be part of that?
I'd be part of that. Yeah. I'd love it.
Because, you burst a lot of bubbles when you told the real story of how the heck you won at the Winter Nationals.
Oh, God. No.
No, the stuff you did, Sam. You can't get away with that anymore.
Yeah, I understand.
There's cameras everywhere.
I tried. The one thing, the only good part about that is over at Bill Strop, we just grabbed up. We looked like gypsies going down the road. we had to go to, where else we went to Arizona. That's right, Arizona raced, and the following week, and Florida, the Gator Nationals the following week, but we did win the best engineered car award in Florida. Yeah. Maverick.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you wrenched on those cars and you actually know how to drive them. And the sad thing is that the whole manual transmission thing is gone now. They call it the what's it called now? Millennial anti-theft device. They hop in the car and they go,
the what's paddle. The paddle. That's
what's that extra pedal for? Oh my God. Then they jump into a Kia and plug in a USB and take off.
Oh God, yes. Oh boy.
So that's the other thing, Sam. Long live the manual transmission.
I really hate to see a manual train. Of course, these guys today, they can't drive.
Well, they can't drive them anyway. Yeah. And now most of us, after your 3rd or 4th knee replacement surgery, you can't get the heavy duty clutch.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be a
bumper to bumper. I'm at the Woodward Dream Cruise. You move 3 feet, 3 feet,
right?
3 feet. 3 hours later, you went a whole mile.
Yeah, right. Your leg is broke.
You get out there, you roll onto the ground. What's wrong with that guy?
Yeah.
Don't ever bring him to another cruise in. Those Ford guys, they're all crazy.
He's a knee surgery.
Yeah, the clutch on a Boss 302 or any of those older Fords on the top loaders. Man.
Let me tell you, our first race cars, we had 3,000-pound clutches in them. Now, this was 3,000 pounds static, not after it pushed it in and revved the engine up. 3,000 pounds static. I tell you, right now, it took all you could do to hold that clutch down. And when you let it out, there was no hesitation to it.
Well, that explains why all your friends said that your left leg was twice the size of your right leg.
Right.
That's good. You had a good workout.
They were brutal, man. Oh, God.
Yeah, that.
And we bought a block.
It's not that anymore, Sam. Because they have line lock. Did you have line lock?
Yeah, we had line lock. No, we did not. We had a manual handle to hold the brake.
Oh my God!
Yeah, we did it the hard way. Jeez, whatever.
Hey, where's your technology, Sam?
It was right here.
Good for you.
Who's this guy? John Salvatierra. Hello, Sam and John. As long as long time Ford owner, I
Oh,
must
okay.
say, I had to give up my Fusion for an Escape. I like the Escape, but missed the Fusion. Still have a 427 tunnel port in the shop. There we go.
Whoa.
It's got tunnel port. And then Perry Ford says FE tunnel ports forever, So
Yeah.
hey,
See,
we still got
that's a brand name, a tunnel port.
yeah.
They don't make that name if it was made by Hu Sheng Flu
Yeah.
company in China. Yeah. No, the Fusion, yeah. So many dealers used to call me, John, I was selling Fusions out of the left and right. We sold what, 400,000 or 500,000 a year, and they got replaced by a SUV that would sell half that. And they
Yeah.
didn't understand. And and then we get these guys on YouTube, oh, the greatest idea ever. And Fusion was a great little car. Both platforms were strong.
Yeah.
The reliability was pretty darn good. I know a lot of people that got a couple 100,000 miles out of those cars. They're comfortable. They're nice to drive. I like the Lincoln version, the Zephyr that turned into the,
Yeah.
what is it? I like the styling of those taillights. And
Right.
I told my wife I'd buy a used Zephyr if I
Yeah.
could find one, but
Yeah. If you can find one.
those, I do miss those cars, and
Yeah.
they were pretty handsome little cars. They really were, and they got great mileage. The last somebody got a Fusion Sport before, it was a little sport model they made. It had a 2.3. Sam, I think he told me he was doing like 36 miles per gallon or
Is that right?
almost 40 in a Fusion.
I don't know.
I can't get. My wife's got a little Transit Connect because she still believes in minivans.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That thing, I'd be lucky to get 23 out of that. And that's only got a 2.5 liter, nothing, no turbo.
Yeah. Exactly.
Powertrains aren't what they used to be, but I bring back the Fusion. Absolutely. Maybe if they can't stand that it's a car, make it, what do they call them over in Europe? A shooting brake. Make them station wagons. Like, remember the old Hemi Magnum wagons? Those were wicked.
Yeah.
Let's do a Fusion wagon and call it a Fugette. I don't know.
Fugette or a pickup truck. Yeah. Just call it what it is.
Yeah, I'd love to have those come back. If you go on FordPerformance.com and you read in the article section with all the enthusiasts get the right stuff. There's a guy who writes for me, Rick Mitchell.
Yeah.
And he just wrote a story about, he was taking his Mustang to car shows and winning awards, but he loved the Fusion and he bought a used Fusion. He'd looked forever, cleaned it up, and he actually took that to a car show. And he won a trophy with an old Fusion. Now that's cool, So yeah, thanks for calling that one in, because Fusion we should have those back, Sam. Hey, start a letter writing campaign. Where do they send the mail, to your house?
No, don't send it here. Mailman got hijacked.
I get that stuff at clubhub at Ford.com. I get that stuff all the time. I don't know who to forward it to anymore. Everybody's getting promoted.
Send it to Mike.
Yeah. Hey, you got to have Mike Ray on. He could really talk about this change in clubs.
I hope I have him next week. So I forgot.
That'd be great. Yeah. Our club world has changed, and everybody used to be in the club, and you find out where you get your car painted, who did your transmission, where'd you get those wheels. The $40 or $30 you paid for membership paid for itself the first time you didn't go to the wrong guy, right? And now it's the same old people doing the same old job. They can't get any young kids in the club. They want to no, they don't get up at 8:00. They don't go home at 3. No. They want to get up. They do the cars and coffees or the cruise-ins. They don't even wash their car.
Yeah.
They don't take the McDonald's bag out of the back seat. It's a different world, Sam.
I know.
And Mike's seeing it.
World.
It's a different world. I'm not saying kids don't appreciate there's a lot of kids that do appreciate their cars, but Mike has seen it, and he's watched this whole thing change. He's been the president of that club, one of the largest and most active in North America for 20 years. Yeah. And to see it morph like that, I don't know what's going to happen to the hobby, Sam.
We'll see I don't know either.
Can you get your grandchildren to buy an old Fairlane?
Yeah, there you go. They would do it, so.
All those cars now, you see them at the consignment stores, and old Galaxy that may have been worth, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, 10, 15 years ago. Now the prices are sinking because the market for them is going. Guys our age that you would love will have one of those that, we don't have storage room for all those old cars, and by God, you got to keep them running.
Well, let me tell you a story from last 2 weeks ago. I I brought my daughter to a car show that we had, that Gary Gore from the area here at the has it every year at the Mason Dixon track, and so I asked my youngest daughter, who was like 50, so she said,
He ain't a kid.
I said, "Do you want to go with me to the car?" She'd never been, never seen me race a car, never seen me. They had not.
Oh,
And my
man.
granddaughter came with her, and of course, you got to get up and accept the award, and they call it the Rocking Chair National. So I guess it fits. But but anyway, I get up and accept the award and all, and they were just like, wow, I didn't, they didn't know. And 6 or 8 months ago, or maybe longer than that, she asked me, she says, "Dad, take me to the, we live about 30, 45 minutes to Hagerstown Speedway."
Okay.
So she says, "I want you to take me to the races." I said, "Yeah, okay, all right. I haven't heard this one before. Go ahead,
Yeah.
And we've been, I don't know, 7, 8 times now.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
love it. She used to
That
race
is awesome.
quarter when she was a kid, young kid. We used to have a quarter midget. She'd drive that. We take it up there, and
Yeah.
so
Well, it's an
she said,
experience. It's a
she
great
said,
experience.
"You're just trying to live your racing career through me." That's what you said.
No, that's awesome.
Okay, all right.
After hearing that story, the only thing I can say is, would you be my dad?
Yeah, no.
No. Oh, I hate being jealous of you.
Yeah, right.
First of all, you got better hair. Second of all,
Right.
what a
Hey, we
great
got Johnny Honda on here. Said Cleveland's forever.
Yeah.
Where's our girl at? She.
Cleveland's. Yeah, I mean,
He
those
said,
351.
Sam,
Those were great motors.
right? Yeah. Well, I bought one. I bought a block. I'm ashamed to say this, but I bought a block, an aluminum block
Wow.
from Smoky Eunuch. Well, this bastard block was a Can-Am block.
Oh.
And we had to do enough machine work on that block to last a lifetime, and nothing was the same. The main bearing size, the caps, none of that crap.
Well, okay, so let's say somebody buys it now. My machine shops around my town, 40 of they're all gone. I don't know where to find them anymore. Do you know guys that still do that?
My guy is still alive and doing engine work, and the cylinder head guy that I've used forever still does cylinder heads.
Wow.
So, and they did my
skill, Sam. Are they teach anybody how to use those? That skill is a lost art.
Well, the Bill had a guy in there to the machine shop, and he I don't think he understood the concept here.
That's
and
hard work.
He was buying this business, and he just, I don't know what happened, but Bill's got a story for it. But and he says, you got to be customer oriented here. You can't tell them you're not going to be here today. You got to get it done. So
yeah, I love hanging around machine shops to see those. There's some guys are so good, and it's all about precision, because one little mistake on that cylinder head or the engine, that costs you a whole race. I mean, that'll cost everything.
See, and back when we raced the crankshafts, we had to widen the crankshaft, and the only crankshaft we could get at a good time was the steel crankshaft for 427 Ford. Wow. So we had to widen out the crank dangerously on the flimsy side. You got it in a camera and you're turning it $9,000 or so, and I mean it's bending a little bit, So, but we had great luck with it, and we knew when we got to take it apart and make sure it doesn't blow up before So we constantly massaged it, and
that's a skill, Sam. And my fear is that those skills in machine shops and the knowledge that it takes to redo an entire cylinder head or
Yeah.
do even a 30 overbore, and just to do it right. It's the pride in the work, how good those shops were, and
Oh yeah.
I don't see them. My old shop. Every time I drove by, I drove by one of the oldest ones around in Detroit, and it's closed up. And after the guy retired, he couldn't get any kid to want to buy it.
Right. Exactly. So
Sad.
anyway, we got
That
one.
means what we're gonna do, Sam. Here's I just figured it out. So you buy your new whatever 2087 Ford, and when you blow the motor up or blow the transmission up, you go on Amazon, you order another one.
Well, that's how it works.
Comes over
They're
from
pretty
China,
much
you bolt it in.
they're in the car business now.
Well, I made the mistake. I had a charging problem, and I thought it was the battery. Of course, you put the battery in, you find out it's the alternator. Of course, you put the alternator in, and find out it's the voltage regulator.
Right.
So I went online and I saw there's a Motorcraft. So I got a Motorcraft voltage regulator. Well, when I got it and I went to put it on, the box looked funny. I wonder why it was $10 cheaper than the other ones. It was a Motocraft.
Oh, Moto. Yeah, I remember
The
that.
R must have fallen off the box.
Yeah, right.
And I went to plug it in, Sam. The Ford harness did not fit as well into the Chinese plastic.
Wow.
In fact, if I hit a bump, the voltage it would fall out.
You're
So that was
expecting too
great.
much, John.
Yeah. So there's too many knockoff. Who's making this stuff?
Oh God, yeah. Well, you know who's making it.
Bring that part company back here.
Yeah, please.
I'll pay extra
There's
so that the wire doesn't fall out when I hit a bump.
Right, exactly. All right,
you got to
man.
be nuts to be an enthusiast today, Sam. Let's figure
it. Well,
maybe we should just forget about what motor's in it. Just buy this little putt thing.
Buy the
Who
electric.
cares what brand it is? You know,
you can plug it in at night.
You recharge it tomorrow, and
I got a place down the road from me. It's a brand new high-end apartment complex. Okay, down there, and they put in like 10 of the charging stations.
Wow!
And I go by there about twice a day, and I've never seen one used yet. Yeah, ain't a car there, truck there, nothing.
See, what if you're living in a row house in New York and you all got electric cars? And who's throwing all those extension cords out the window? You can't. I see them over at the Walmart,
right?
And then I heard that in one certain part of town, the thieves were coming in cutting the copper cables out to get the copper.
Oh
so
yeah,
all the chargers were missing their cables. And some guy got $3 for him so he could buy a whole pack of meth.
That was after they took the copper pipe out.
Right. So I don't know that. I don't know if that charging thing. We're gonna have to do wireless charging because copper is too expensive. And now we just put. Now there's a tariff on copper. We should make more here.
Right.
I guess we're importing too much of our copper. Right. But the good news is, Sam, it's going to be a glut of it when we stop making pennies.
There you go. That's true. And I think I got a lot of pennies. That's the problem. I got too many pennies.
Well, you had that. Didn't you use them in your garage for a safety device? You put them in a sock. Put them in a sock when some guy shows up and says he's not paying you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, the good old days, man.
We're holding everybody up here.
Yeah. No, we're just trying to educate our younger audience, and this is the way it was. And you better appreciate what you got now. You can go on to YouTube, watch a video, and watch some guy tell you the wrong way to put something together, and it's awesome.
Yeah, there's plenty of that.
They call them parts cannons now. You get the Amazon parts from the jungle, or you get the part from China, or you get the part from the dealership, and they're all different prices, and you got to figure out which one will last 10 minutes. It's beauty. Sam, you lived the glory day.
We did. Absolutely was the glory days compared to this world today. It's the racing world too. I don't care what anybody says. This is a screwed up mess too.
Oh, it is. And for those the young people, terrible. I used to go to the drag strip on the weekends. And when the funny cars came out, and all my friends, we were yelling about the Mopars and the Chevys and pulling for our Ford friends up in the grandstands. And there's too many of us, and the old boards up there would crack, and we'd fall through and go get a hot dog. Those days. Now they have let's do a street takeover. Let's go in the middle of the street at 3:00 in the morning and do burnouts around until we run people over. That's cool.
That's what they
What is wrong? I blame the parents.
The parents, don't know where their kids are,
We used to have a TV station in Detroit that said for the 11 o'clock news, it's 11 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are?
Where your kids are. That's right.
Yeah, so hopefully they're listening to the Sam Oxford Jr. radio show,
Yeah,
being
yeah.
educated about the glory days of
10 of
Ford,
them.
and maybe take up the mantra for Ford performance into the future and be our leaders of tomorrow. That's all I want.
There you go. Yeah. I'm getting
Also,
hit
I want
with
your hair,
all these.
and I want to have this show next year at Carlisle with the panel discussion. That's what we need, panel discussion.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. That's what we'll do. This will be fun. They'll
Absolutely.
run us off after a while.
No, I'm gonna put in for it, and if it's you that's the problem, I'll just say, oh yeah, well the guy canceled. I got Sam Oxford Jr. to fill in for him.
Say, hell no, he ain't coming
What are they
in
gonna
here.
say? They can't stop you.
We
They
can't
couldn't
give
stop
you
you
a
back then on the
microphone.
track, and
You
they're
don't
not
get
going
a
to stop you
microphone.
now.
Get him out of here.
No.
God.
Now I look forward to doing that. So hopefully I get to see you at some show down the road. And if I got to wait to Carlisle, God, don't make me do that.
Yeah,
But,
well, I never know where you are, So
we'll be
you're
someplace. If there's a club
Lake
show
Michigan.
somewhere, you'll see
You're
us.
on Lake Michigan with your yacht, going out there.
Yeah, it's about this big. It runs on 3 AA's.
All right,
Yep.
God.
Great to talk to you, Sam. It's always great to talk to you.
I tell you, I love having you on here. It's always good for a laugh here, So,
well, stay in touch, dang it.
all right, buddy.
Remember, FordPerformance.com on the article sections to see what I write about for everybody every week.
That's
and
right.
Then and sign up for Fast News. And then if you don't get enough Mustang from the Sam Oxford Show, get onto the Mustang Owners Podcast on YouTube or Spotify. Let's take this into the future. Bless your soul, Sam Oxford Jr.
Hey, thank you there, buddy. We'll see you next time.
All right, take care.
See you at Carlisle.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank everyone. Great listen. I hope you enjoyed the show. And we'll be back next week, I hope, with Mike Ray. So we will give it our best shot. So we'll talk to you then. Thank you. Thank you, John Clor. It's spelled with 4. Yeah, okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you.